I did a film with an absolute idiot of a co-star. This human being was being so insecure and angry that I got screamed at. But because this person was number one on a call sheet, there was no safety net for me. And I would cry walking off set. This person would literally look at me in front of the whole crew and say, "You call yourself an actor, this is what I have to work with. What is this?" And I stood there. And I remember the next day I walked on and said, "You can F off."
Do we know who it is?
The video's not over yet. I got something to show you.
Okay.
You know who Rebecca Ferguson is?
Heard the name, but I'm not familiar.
Rebecca freaking Ferguson, dude.
Did she sing?
So, we just recently went to Dune Part 2.
Yes, it was an amazing
Went to it. We saw Dune Part 2, right? We saw Dune Part 2, and Rebecca Ferguson is the mom of Paul Atreides.
Excellent job.
She's also in the new Mission Impossible movies, so on and so forth. She's very famous, and there is this TikTok going around about her. Legit, not an exaggeration. 99% of you are not subscribed. This is not an exaggeration. I repeat, this is not hyperbole. 99% of you are not subscribed. So if you're watching the video and you like what you see, hit the subscribe down below, hit the notification bell, like the video, comment, do all the things that YouTube creators say you're supposed to do. I don't know. I hear it's a good idea. I hear it's great. Thank you, and back to the video. There's this guy who does like these TikTok videos. They're like minute and a half long. I'll show you, and then you guys will be hearing and seeing what we're seeing.
Rebecca Ferguson is not holding back, calling out her idiot of a co-star for making her cry on set because they were insecure, and now it's got everyone speculating on who it could be. Listen to her terrible experience, and then we'll go through the list of suspects.
I did a film with an absolute idiot of a co-star. This human being was being so insecure and angry that I got screamed at. But because this person was number one on a call sheet, there was no safety net for me. And I would cry walking off set. This person would literally look at me in front of the whole crew and say, "You call yourself an actor, this is what I have to work with. What is this?" And I stood there. And I remember the next day I walked on and said, "You can F off."
Do we know who it is?
So, the video's not over yet. First reactions to that.
Christopher Walken. I knew he shouldn't have been on Dune. It was. That's
well, no. So
I mean,
she's
obviously
talking about a co-star. So this is a person in one of her movies. It's not Dune. It's not necessary.
Okay,
it's not. Hold on.
Joke. I've heard nothing but good things about Christopher Walken. I want to go ahead. If there's no slander, libel, or anything, Christopher Walken, wonderful film.
It's not necessarily Dune. It could be Dune.
Okay.
So there's a co-star that was number one on the call sheet, which means they were probably the lead role in the movie.
Okay.
So let's go through.
Ooh, it could be Tom Cruise.
So okay. Tom Cruise is up there.
You know what I'm saying? I've heard some.
I know who it probably is already.
You know
so it's all you.
is?
Yeah. So I've seen the video.
I'll give it. So I have nothing but the ability to speculate on this because I have no idea. I would think it's not Dune. Okay, it's not Dune, so it's not.
Maybe
Timothy.
not.
Maybe not. Well, when
he goes into detail.
Can I ask a question? When was this interview conducted?
After Dune Part 2.
After Dune Part 2. Okay, so that's where I start to think maybe it's Timothée Chalamet. I don't think it is.
That would be crazy. Listen, Timothée Chalamet, I'm not a huge fan of him. Everybody knows I'm not a huge fan of him now.
I'm not a huge fan of him either, but I have heard only like decent things about him. Though.
In the last 8 months, he's had 2 of the highest grossing movies in the last 8 months.
What else was he in?
Wonka. And Dune Part 2. And so he could be getting a big head, ladies and gentlemen. Back to this Rebecca Ferguson stuff. The video still goes on. Here we go.
And I stood there. And I remember the next day I walked on and said, "You can F off. I'm going to work towards a tennis ball. I never want to see you again." And then I remember the producers came up and said, "You can't do this to number one. We have to let this person be on set." I said, "But the person can turn around and I can act to the back head."
So right off the bat, she was clear to point out that it wasn't Tom Cruise and not Hugh Jackman. Now, some were pointing out that it could be Meryl Streep because she kept saying person, but the fact that she's calling out 2 guys and saying it's not them pretty much tells you that it was a guy. Rock made damn well sure people knew it wasn't him by coming to her defense after he heard the story. Ewan McGregor and her, by all accounts, had a great relationship. People thought maybe it was Jake Gyllenhaal or Ryan Reynolds, but if you go back to that press tour, it seemed like they're having a good time the whole time. And we know it wasn't Chris Hemsworth because that's not his MO. Leaving us with a few possible options. Michael Fassbender for The Snowman, because the movie was terrible and they ran out of money, so maybe he was under stress.
So what do you think about the Michael Fassbender take?
So, Michael Fassbender, I respect him as an actor, even though he hasn't been in what I would consider to be quality films for the most part of his career. I think he was great as Magneto. You know, that young Magneto.
Oh, dude,
perfect.
solid.
You know what I'm saying? No, he was perfect casting.
And I've heard nothing bad about Michael Fassbender.
I haven't either.
He's been great in everything he's done, in my opinion. And I would put money on it not being him.
I don't see him being like he does so good in roles that are like pissed off, angry, evil people. Usually people that do that are actually not. That's just an interesting trope in Hollywood. It seems like a lot of the people who play like villains and bad people, like James Earl Jones is like Darth Vader, or like the guy who owns the dog in the Sandlot. Or they always end up being decent human beings, and you see horrible stuff coming out about people who play like these, like super like high lovey characters and stuff. They're like all happy and like they're like Tom Hanks. Like Tom Hanks been catching a lot of flack recently, you know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And he's named like an evil role that Tom Hanks has been in. Like arguably the most evil he's been is Catch Me If You Can. And he's just trying to catch Leonardo DiCaprio.
Right.
That's all he's doing. He's not even evil. He's just a ditzy agent. You know what I'm saying? It's not. They never typecast people that are like really like decent into decent roles. It seems like they're always sometimes they'll be like heroes and stuff.
Yeah,
but they're not going to be like, they're not going to get the Tom Hanks type roles. They're just not.
So here we go. Let's finish out this video. I think the ending is going to surprise you. Okay.
It turns out not the case. And no, it's not Jacob Tremblay, leaving the choice almost completely obvious in the fact that it is Hugh Grant. He sucks. He's bitter about the way his career turned out, and he's taking it out on everybody else.
So Hugh Grant, ladies and gentlemen, is a piece of shit.
I mean, yeah, I could.
Breaking news: is Hugh Grant a piece of shit? I think so.
What's the last thing Hugh Grant's been in? He's not a name that I go.
So
I want to go see that new Hugh Grant movie.
Well, that's his whole point. Is that Hugh Grant is upset with the way his career has turned out to be.
Okay, I know a lot of people who are upset the way their life has turned out to be, and they don't treat people like shit. You know what I'm saying? They're decent
Most do.
people. Yeah, I see some that do, but like some people I know, I don't know, man. I think everyone has the capacity to be decent regardless of what you've been through. So there's no excuse, especially when he's made millions of dollars. Why be pissed off? You don't have to do an ounce of hard work. Your hands are clean, callus free. Be happy with your life, dog. You get to work with cool people.
You were in 4 weddings and a funeral. Get over it.
For real. You know what I'm saying?
Good movie or no good movie?
It's a good movie. It's a good movie.
What's the tone there? What are you talking about?
Well, because it's not.
It's good movie.
Okay, maybe my tone was off. It's a good movie. You know what I'm saying?
I think it's great.